welcome. We've had a very musical block just now, and we have some of the creators behind a music video, well, a short and musical feature. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what film you worked on.
So my name's Olivia Bennett. I did the Metronome, I wrote it, and I also starred in it. And it was a short film about a drummer, and that's what was here.
Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Hand, and I am the creator, director, and producer of Maxxie LaWow, Drag Super-shero.
So they're both really, really interesting films. Where did the idea first come from? Especially starting with you with drumming. Where did that how did that come about?
Yeah, well, so I've been drumming for 12 years anyway, but I'm working towards my grade 8 currently, and that beat that's in it I've been working on for 2 years now, because it's crazy hard for me anyway. I'm sure maybe other drummers might find it quite easy, but it was about 2 years ago I just started learning it. And I was thinking, I had a metronome on my phone, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is driving me crazy. I was there for hours. I was like, oh my God, this is getting insane. I thought, you know what? If anyone could see me now, I bet they'd find this really interesting. Maybe, I don't know. So I was like, I could create it into a film, my insanity. Yeah, my insanity became a film, basically. That's where the idea came from. So, yeah. How about you?
That's a good way to put it. You know, one's insanity becomes putting it into film.
Yeah.
So Maxxie LaWow, Drag Super-shero. In 2018, I had seen yet another comic book movie. And, you know, they're fun, a lot of fun, some of them, many of them. And, but the queer representation in these films is sorely lacking. And I don't know about y'all, but I love watching queer cinema. And so I started meditating on, like, what would it be like to have a queer superhero, you know? And I mean, of course, the truth is a queer superhero could be anyone with any kind of power, but I was really inspired by RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm a huge fan. I've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race since season 1. And, you know, as those queens are getting ready for the main fashion show of every episode, you'll hear the queens share stories about their challenges in life and their triumphs. And many of the queens will talk about how, as they go through the process of getting into drag, you know, putting on the pads and putting on the costume and the wig and the makeup, many queens talk about how there's this transformation as they go from their maybe shy, maybe introverted, street personality into this drag persona that's so over the top, but also so empowered, so bold, and so, you know, just out there, just doing their thing and creative, and that ultimately is what really resonated with me and I found really inspiring, and that's how Maxxie was born.
Have you ever dived into the drag world yourself?
Oh goodness. You know, as a gay man, I've indulged in drag multiple times over the years, but never as a performer for me personally. I was telling a friend of mine last night that I went to a night of 1,000 Stevies with some friends. This is a night that celebrates Stevie Nicks, for example, in New York City, and had a blast. I dressed as one of the Stevie Nicks at some point during her career. And sadly, there are no pictures from that night. And then another night, for example, some friends and I, we did a group drag thing in Provincetown in Cape Cod. And we actually went out on the town as first wives. And so I'm the chubby one, so I got to be, I got to be Barbara Bush. And I do like my pearls, so it fit.
Don't know where to go from there.
I have pictures of that I can show you later.
Please do. Picture time at the bar.
It was great because one of the boyfriend and one of the first ladies played our Secret Service agent. So he went into the restaurant first, you know, made sure everything was clear, spoke into a fake mic, and then you see this like seven 7 men in First Lady drag walking into the restaurant. It was a thing. It was awesome.
That sounds iconic. I love it.
I mean, how was it, like, you being able to do things like that around your home? How was the film received in the US?
I'm glad to say it's been received really well on the film festival circuit so far. We've won a number of awards. For example, we won Impact Award at the Washington, D.C. Film Festival just a couple weeks ago. And that was particularly awesome because we played just a few blocks from the White House in Washington, D.C. And especially now with this political climate the way it is, and I feel like a film like this that's really about celebrating drag, celebrating gender identity and diversity, and especially about a young person who goes through this process to discover that within themselves there's a huge strength, a huge pool of strength and power. And I think this is something that we all kind of go through in general, and especially as we're sort of coming of age, to learn how to tap into that power. And I think now in this current political climate in the States in particular, it's so important for us as queer people to learn how to do that and to fight against this ridiculous injustice that's coming back and becoming so strong, right? It's crazy. And so I think what this film that started off as a love letter to drag is really becoming, in light of current political situation, maybe a little bit more open to a new kind of interpretation. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, but we played this in San Francisco. I live in San Francisco, well, close to San Francisco, so many of my co-creators, the guy who took my crazy film treatment and turned it into a filmable script, he's a part-time drag queen, one of the prominent drag queens in San Francisco, is associate producer, for example, and more. And so I go to a ton of drag shows in San Francisco, and so that's why in the credits list there's a big long list of queens. And so in San Francisco, when we showed this at SF Indie Fest a few weeks ago, oh my God, we had 200 people in the theater, and to hear that laughter and to hear that, and everything was just really incredibly amazing, really amazing, very powerful.
So did you both actively try to keep a queer cast, or is that something that just happened because it's the people who you know already?
So with this one, I was able to get connected to JP Karliak, who is the voiceover director, and for animation, it helps to have somebody who can really be that kind of director and really work with those actors to pull out the kind of voice acting that you really need, because it's a little bit different from live action acting. And so he tapped his network, for example, and then we approached a few of the RuPaul's Drag Race queens. So you noticed we had Jinx Monsoon and Mandela Creme, Rosé, Monet Exchange, and Hiding Closet. And so we approached them, and honestly, I'd say, with this being my first film, I think the queens were a little bit like, who is this dude doing a drag movie? But when they heard that Darcy Drollinger was involved as our associate producer, Darcy owns a nightclub, cabaret space in San Francisco. And when the queens come through San Francisco on their tours, they always play there. And so they all know and love Darcy. And so I think that, having her on board absolutely opened doors for us. Yeah. And then like with Lorraine Newman, she's the biggest actor in the film, and she does a ton of voiceover work nowadays. She was in the original cast of Saturday Night Live back in the 70s. And so JP Karliak, our voiceover director, just knows her because she does a ton of voiceover work for animation now. And she's like, yeah, sure, that sounds like it'll be fun, let's do it. So, awesome. And actually all of our casts were actually like, a queer superhero? Yeah, I'm in. So yeah, it was, casting for this film was actually really, quote unquote, easy for us, I'm gonna say. People were really, really down, so it was awesome.
And how about with the Metronome? Did it just happen? Or?
Well, yeah, it kind of just happened because it was such a small group as well. It was literally me and 3 other people. I think, well, to my knowledge, I was the only sort of LGBTQ member of the creative people. But it's nice because, I don't know, I think for me, especially back home, like there's not many sort of LGBTQ writers, and it particularly wasn't like an LGBTQ story, but to know that someone like me could create that and like and be confident with it and maybe could go on to write more stories, it is quite lovely. But yeah, it was a very small creative company that I had, so yeah, it was lovely though.
Is this your first one also?
This is my first film, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, crazy times. Oh, and congratulations for you as well. Yours is beautiful.
That's very sweet. I took the question right out of my mouth there. So is this your first time writing and performing?
Yeah, so in terms of acting, I've had other work from like BBC and Amazon Prime, but nothing that I'd written myself. This was the first, well, technically second film I wrote. The first one I don't think I want to make because it was about my first lesbian heartbreak, and I think maybe I should just keep that somewhere dark and no one should see that. But we've been there. It's hard. But I've written a few more things since the Metronome, which is really nice. More feature length, which is fun. But yeah, it's my first thing. This is actually my first festival as well. So this is all, it's really exciting. So yeah, thank you for having me.
I mean, thank you for submitting. Yeah. Do you find writing cathartic then, if we've got the pattern of like getting it out of your head? Does it help you?
Yeah, I mean the first one did, because it was about my first ever heartbreak. So that was pretty cathartic. I don't want to read that again. You know when you redraft and you're thinking, I don't think I want to look at that. But I do find it quite therapeutic. And it helps me find out more about myself somehow, even though I'm writing about different characters. They're all sort of an element of me somewhere. And it kind of helps me learn about myself through writing, I think. Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever dive into the directing world?
Oh, I'd love to think I could. I think it's a whole new avenue. And the director I had for the Metronome, she was Laura, she was so incredible. And I would be intrigued to try it, maybe one day. Maybe not yet, but one day, definitely.
You did a very good job of getting like that. Watching that made me really anxious.
Oh,
like,
good.
Yeah.
That's the insanity.
It does seep through, so it feels like maybe you might have that potential of like, is that something you'd want to try and do more of?
Yeah, I love sort of the psychological stuff. I like sort of diving into the uncomfortable. I've watched many films that have made me uncomfortable, and I can't forget about them. And I think, I want to do that. So I would love to do more psychological things in my life.
It's a bit of a scary way.
A little bit, yeah.
So diving into the horror world, maybe.
Yeah. I've acted in a few horrors, but I'd love to write one. Like, definitely. Yeah.
And do you reckon you'd stay in animation, or would you want to move into? I was going to say real life, but
live action.
Live action, yeah, real life, live action.
I really enjoy this process. It's been 5 years in the making, and I have learned so much. And so the next project will be a little smoother in editing and a few of the things that we kind of learned about in this. But yeah, and so next I would love to see Maxxie become a series. Would anyone like to see Maxxie made into a TV series? Yeah, awesome. And actually, one of the animators for the film is currently working on a series called Frankie's Place, an animated series about a monster bar in West Hollywood, which is also a predominantly LGBTQ neighborhood in Los Angeles. And so I'm helping him produce that as well. And then on the live action side, I've been kind of working on a few different treatments for a couple of concepts. So we'll see what happens with regards to that.
And as you're both first-time filmmakers, do you have a piece of advice that you would want to give to someone, a first-time writing or first-time creating?
I think maybe the thing I would say is, if it sounds crazy, do it. Don't be afraid. Just do it, you know? Yeah. You never know what's going to happen, and actually what you think in your head you judge yourself for, people might actually really enjoy. So it's like, don't quit before you've started, basically. Yeah, don't stop yourself from doing something mad.
Let's see. I would say do it also, for sure. Keep the costs low. Pay people, though.
Yeah.
Pay people, but keep the costs low. But do it, yeah. The world has space for all these stories that people have, and it's a real challenge pulling a project together. But tap your network, and you'll figure out how to make things happen. And if it's worth making, then it's worth figuring out how to make it happen.
I think they're both very good piece of advice. Just go for it. Do we have? Oh, we do have audience questions.
This to Anthony. Have you ever thought about having it screened at DragCon?
Great question. The question is, have I ever thought about having Maxxie screened at DragCon? And yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that they do films currently, but in the current iteration of DragCon. But the folks who make the Drag Race franchise, they are starting to get more involved, I think, in some film projects and some other things. So I think it's a great idea. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I've been to Los Angeles one a couple of times, but I haven't been to the London or New York DragCon yet.
Yeah, because at the London one, they do some screenings of things after, so they have the main thing, and it finishes at 7, and then they have an after party where they screen. So I just thought that could be...
DragCon London does.
So.
How fun. Yes, let's totally do it. Good idea.
Do we have any more questions? We do? Yes?
Yeah, regarding Metronome, I'm sat next to a drummer. I play bass.
Yeah.
How hard was it for you to not play in time with it?
Oh,
because obviously you're incredibly talented.
Oh, thank you. It was hard. It was because the thing was clicking for about 4 hours. And once you're locked in, I'm sure you understand as musicians, you're locked in. So to play off time, it was slightly painful. Because I was like, I know this is wrong, but it's for the film. It's for the film.
I was grimacing.
Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? As I'm sure you understand. But it was quite difficult. But also to get it to that speed, it was at 160 BPM. And the original speed of the song is 168, so I wasn't exactly doing it at the right speed anyway, because I can't handle it. But to play at that speed, once you're going. So to come off of it, it's like, oh my god, quite difficult. But yeah.
Well, it was really good. Honestly, I was
thank you.
engaged.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Any more questions? Yep.
Just because both the films obviously so ingrained with the music within them, about music in some way, I wonder if iReview had, what's your queer anthem? Whether it's because of the person who makes it or just like inspires you in your day to day.
Oh my goodness, Chapel Roan. Oh, she's come up with a new song. I need to listen to it. I haven't yet. Oh, my sister loves her as well. But she's an absolute inspiration. I love her. And her most popular songs, I love Red Wine Supernova. I mean, Good Luck Babe is insane. But so she wrote a song, I think it's called California. I think I really like that one as well. But Chapel Roan, all day, every day. Yeah.
That's like an appropriate response.
How about you?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What's your queer anthem?
Queer anthem. Oh goodness, that's for me. It's a little bit more old school, and I came of age in the '80s and early '90s, and so for me, I love Jimmy Somerville and the Communards. So this is a little bit older stuff, but yeah, love, and early Madonna. So I will say, queer music is, probably important to everybody, of course, but I love how people will answer the question about who who do you like? And I think that music is so important to the queer community in general, and so like for our song, for our film, for example, I had to have good original music, so that's why there are 4 pop songs. And working with the songwriters was really a fun experience and tough, because to work with a songwriter is to speak a different language, I swear, because they're like, what exact song from what exact artist is the reference? I'm like, I have vague memories of things, so it was a little bit general like that. But like for example, the opening number was really inspired by for the opening number Shero, in the opening credits, I'm like, I want a song that's like Kylie Minogue meets Barbarella. And so, I think we kind of did that okay. And then for like Bye Girl Bye, for example, which is Maxxie LaWow's solo number, I'm like, I want a number that's kind of like Britney Spears-ish, I'm the new girl in the scene, and you've got to pay attention to me. And so we're actually working on dance remixes of that song too.
That's so cool.
Do you have any more questions? No. So where are your films going to be available after the festival run? Are they going to go anywhere? Have you got any plans?
I have no idea, I'll be honest. I'm thinking after sort of this festival and we have another one at the end of March, we'll probably sort of release it on like Vimeo for people to watch, maybe YouTube as well, but we'll see.
We just, for Maxxie LaWow, we just signed a deal with a distributor for North America, and so we're working on rest of the world right now as well. So hopefully we'll have some news on that very, very soon. But the general idea is to have Maxxie available on iTunes and Amazon and streaming services sometime this summer. So let's hope for June.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us at the festival. Can we get a round of applause, please?